All right, let's do a few examples to show you the difference between map and regular for loop. Okay, so if I have a numbers array and I want a new array doubling those numbers, doing it the regular way, I can just do const map is equal to an empty array, and then I can just paste in a regular for loop like this, right? And we have what we wanted. Okay, now what about map? Const map is equal to, now we can take the numbers, right? And then we can do dot map, then we get access to the value, and then we can just return value times 2, like that. Okay, now you might think that, oh my gosh, this way is a lot easier, but what are some differences? Well, first of all, you should notice that for a regular for loop, it doesn't return anything by default. We had to create an empty array, right? And then push it in as we're looping through this array. Okay. For the map method, by default, and you cannot change this, it will always return a new array, right? So that's why we didn't have to declare an empty array. Okay. And map, it cannot skip over any of its indexes, right? Whereas in a regular for loop, you can. How can we prove this? Well, let's say instead of just doubling it, we're only going to double it if the number is even, right? So 2 is even, we're going to double it to 4. 3 is not even, we're going to leave it. 4 is even, we're going to double it to 8. How can we do that with map? Can we use continue with map? Well, let's see. What if we do if? So if, let's see, if val modulo by 2 is triple equal to 0, this means if it is even, we're going to continue. And you're going to see that says illegal continuous statement, right? So we have to figure out some other way to do it with map. But if we go back to a regular for loop, let's see. Okay. And if we just copy this, actually, I'm just going to type it. So I'm going to type if numbers at I, that is the value, modulo 2 is triple equal to 0, right? Then we continue, else we're going to push it into the map. Okay. And if you notice, we don't even need the else. Okay. Because continue means it will skip over that index. And remember, continue, you can only use it in a regular for loop. You cannot use it in the map method. Okay, now. So now when should you use the map method? You use the map method when you're not trying to skip over any of the indexes and you're trying to apply the same rule or the same modification to each of the indexes. And you're going from beginning to end. If you want to do anything else, any customization as you loop, like let's say skip it, if it's an odd, I would use a regular for loop, right? If you want to start from the third index and only go to here, I would also use a regular for loop. Okay, hope that was helpful.